The galaxy was infinite, a vast ocean of darkness punctuated by islands of light, distant suns, glimmering nebulae, and swirling clusters of stars that had existed long before humanity's fragile ships dared traverse these sectors. Most species regarded love as inconsequential, an inefficiency that distracted from the pursuit of power, survival, or knowledge. They underestimated humans. Humans had learned to thrive not just through cunning or endurance, but through connection, through the courage to risk vulnerability, even when every law of physics and probability suggested they should remain detached. And tonight, on the observation deck of a remote orbital station, he was reminded of exactly why humanity endured. She lay across his chest, small yet radiant, the weight of her body both grounding and exhilarating. Her skin shimmered subtly in the light of the star they orbited, patterns of color shifting and flowing like living nebula. To any observer, her presence might have seemed delicate, ephemeral, a fragile alien being entrusting her safety to a human who was equally fragile in the grand cosmic sense. But to him, this was far from weakness. This was extraordinary. This was humanity at its finest. She breathed softly, her chest rising and falling in perfect rhythm with his own heartbeat. And in that simple synchrony, the galaxy itself seemed to pause. He had first met her months earlier when a diplomatic mission had brought him into contact with her species. Cold, precise, and calculating as most of her kind were, she had initially regarded him with polite curiosity, the faintest glimmer of amusement in her eyes, as though humans were amusing animals, entertaining in their unpredictability. But humans thrived on unpredictability. Humans could reach across difference, across danger, and create bonds that no algorithm could calculate. He had learned that the hard way, in battlefields and negotiations where the unexpected often became the decisive factor. And now, here she was, lying atop him, trusting him with every inch of her being, her warmth pressing against his chest, and he marveled at how astonishingly human this moment felt. Outside, the station's glass dome revealed a panorama of the cosmos that few humans had ever witnessed firsthand. Stars glimmered in clusters, distant planets rotated silently, and nebulae painted the void in hues beyond human description. Meteors drifted lazily across the dark expanse, some burning briefly, others vanishing without a trace. He had cataloged all this, mapped trajectories, and predicted phenomena countless times. But never had he felt the full weight of the galaxy until this moment. The stars themselves seemed like witnesses to their intimacy, indifferent yet oddly reverent, as if the universe had bent slightly to accommodate the quiet, fragile act of trust and love. Her fingers traced subtle patterns across his chest, the faintest glimmers of bioluminescence marking each line she drew. He allowed himself to follow her movements instinctively, memorizing the warmth of her body, the curve of her shoulders, the soft rise and fall of her breath. The galaxy could have raged with supernovae. Fleets could have maneuvered silently through sectors light years away. Alien empires could have plotted the extinction of humanity, and none of it would have mattered in this quiet, perfect moment. Humans were defined not by their fleets or weapons, but by their capacity for connection, their ability to nurture, to trust, to love even in the face of incomprehensible odds. She stirred slightly, turning her head to rest against his shoulder, her luminous eyes half closed. Her murmurs in her native tongue were soft, unintelligible to anyone else, but perfectly clear to him. Each syllable vibrated with emotion, trust, vulnerability, and a profound acceptance that no human or alien had a right to demand. It was a language older than empires, older than the stars themselves, the language of intimacy, of connection, of hearts daring to meet across difference. Humanity had survived countless threats, from cosmic calamities to alien dominions, but the most powerful human skill had always been subtle, quiet, invisible to observers: the courage to allow love, to foster connection, to create warmth in the cold void of space. He adjusted his posture carefully, ensuring her comfort without disturbing her fragile trust. Her body molded against his, head resting lightly on his chest, her pulse beating in rhythm with his own. The tactile awareness of her presence, the softness of her skin, the faint glow of her bioluminescence, the delicate scent that was uniquely hers, was more commanding than any battlefield he had faced. It was proof that humans' true power lay in unpredictability, in intimacy, in the capacity to inspire trust that transcended fear. Hours passed in that stillness. The orbital station rotated slowly above its young sun, casting shifting ribbons of light across the deck. The distant hum of energy fields and machinery became a soothing undertone, harmonizing with the rhythmic sounds of her breathing and the steady beat of his heart. They were isolated from the rest of the galaxy, yet utterly present with each other, a tiny rebellion against the indifferent vastness outside. No alien calculations, no political maneuvering, no fleet could ever replicate this. Here was humanity at its finest, patient, empathetic, brave in its vulnerability. Eventually, he pressed a soft kiss to the top of her head, careful not to disturb her rest. The starlight refracted across her shimmering skin, illuminating intricate patterns that seemed almost like constellations mapped across her body. In that light, he realized the galaxy had misjudged humans for centuries. They could not predict fleets, conquer planets, or manipulate energy fields like some alien species, but they could do something far more formidable. They could love, wholly and courageously, and in that love, they could endure anything. The alien girl sighed softly, nestling further into his chest, and he allowed himself to fully absorb the weight of the moment. Around them, stars twirled, distant worlds rotated silently, and the galaxy stretched in endless silence. And yet, in that silence, humanity's legacy burned brighter than any sun. The alien girl lay on his chest as stars swirled around them, and in that swirl of light, life, and warmth, he understood that this was the true proof of humanity's power. Not in empires, not in weaponry, not in conquest, but in connection, in trust, in the courage to love across worlds. The universe could watch, predict, and calculate, but it could not measure this. It could not replicate this. It could not anticipate the quiet revolution of intimacy and affection that humans wielded effortlessly. And in that embrace, against the backdrop of an indifferent cosmos, he realized that humans had already won, not through fleets, wars, or strategies, but through their capacity to hold another life tenderly, to inspire trust, and to prove that even in the darkest void, love could flourish. Days passed aboard the orbital station, though in the quiet of their shared presence, it was impossible to measure time in ordinary terms. Outside, the galaxy moved with relentless indifference. Stars ignited and faded, distant planets spun in silent arcs, and fleets patrolled sectors light years away, each mission a calculation of strategy and survival. And yet, inside the observation deck, a human and an alien girl existed in a different universe altogether, one defined by intimacy, trust, and the subtle defiance of cosmic expectation. She remained on his chest, small and radiant, every rise and fall of her breathing resonating with him. The bioluminescent patterns along her shoulders shifted gently, responding to the warmth and pressure of his embrace. At first, he had been hesitant. An alien being of immense intelligence and unknown capabilities resting so completely against a human seemed almost reckless. But the hesitation faded as he understood the profound truth. Humans thrived in unpredictability, in emotion, in trust. While empires planned and calculated, humans connected, and in those connections lay a power that no weapon or fleet could replicate. The station was alive with low hums of energy fields and the occasional flicker of maintenance drones, yet these sounds were no distraction. They became a gentle backdrop to the symphony of intimacy unfolding. She shifted slightly, nuzzling against him, and the subtle scent of her skin, sweet, metallic, alien yet familiar, filled his senses. He adjusted, wrapping an arm around her, letting her body mold naturally to his. Her warmth seeped into him, and he realized that this, not conquest or strategy, was the truest form of human victory. In a galaxy where life was often measured in resources and power, they had found something immeasurable: trust, affection, and the courage to allow another being complete access to one's heart. Sometimes she murmured in her native language, soft and musical, a series of syllables whose meaning he could not translate entirely. Yet the emotion was unmistakable. Each word carried weight, safety, comfort, devotion. He learned to respond not with words but with presence, with gentle pressure of his hands along her back, with the cadence of his breathing matching hers. They moved together without instruction, without hesitation, as though their bodies and hearts had always been attuned. Humanity's adaptability, its willingness to embrace the unexpected, allowed him to understand her in ways no intelligence report or language manual could teach. Outside, stars spun lazily in their celestial dance. Nebula glowed with impossible colors. Distant black holes whispered secrets of time and gravity, and meteor showers arced in silent brilliance. And yet none of it seemed as alive, as commanding, as transformative as her presence against him. To any observer, this might have seemed a fleeting intimacy, a small, inconsequential act, but in truth it was a defiance of the void itself. Alien empires relied on logic, probability, and control. Humans relied on heart, trust, and the unquantifiable force of connection. And in this embrace, humanity demonstrated a form of power that no empire could ever anticipate or suppress. He remembered the first time she had truly allowed herself to relax in his arms. Her initial tension had been palpable, a mixture of caution and curiosity. But humans had a subtle, almost imperceptible talent for persuasion, not through coercion, but through empathy and steadiness. Over hours, days, and countless shared moments, he had learned to embody that trust, to offer presence without expectation, to hold her without claim, and gradually, that had transformed hesitation into surrender. It was an extraordinary act, one that no species could replicate with intellect alone. Love, trust, and vulnerability were unpredictable weapons, and humanity wielded them effortlessly. The alien girl's fingers traced invisible patterns along his chest, leaving trails of soft bioluminescence that shimmered and faded. He followed her movements, memorizing every line, every curve, every subtle tremor of muscle beneath his hand. Each touch was a conversation, a negotiation, a confirmation of trust that spoke louder than any treaty or agreement. She shifted closer, laying her head fully on his shoulder, and he responded instinctively, encircling her in an armful of warmth and protection. Across the galaxy, empires could calculate risk, predict trajectories, and marshal fleets, but they could not anticipate the power of two beings choosing to connect in absolute intimacy. Sometimes he closed his eyes and let the enormity of it sink in. Humanity had always been underestimated, fragile in appearance, unpredictable in consequence, emotional to the point of seeming irrational. Yet it was precisely these qualities that had allowed them to survive centuries of hostile encounters, cosmic disasters, and alien dominions. Here, in a quiet corner of space, an alien girl trusted him completely, and he realized that this simple act, holding her close, sharing warmth, allowing intimacy, was humanity's true triumph. Not fleets, not weapons, not technology, but connection, trust, and love. Hours stretched into the night, or perhaps it was morning. The concept of time had little meaning in the glow of distant stars and nebulae. The alien girl shifted slightly in her sleep, her glowing skin casting faint light across his chest. He pressed a gentle kiss to her temple, careful not to wake her, letting the quiet of the station, the rhythm of her heartbeat, and the subtle hum of the cosmos enfold them both. In that moment, he understood that no prediction, no calculation, no alien intelligence could account for the depth of human adaptability, the courage to nurture intimacy, or the transformative power of love. Outside, stars swirled. Distant worlds rotated silently, and fleets moved as expected by all known calculations. Inside, however, an alien girl rested against a human chest, and in that quiet, intimate act, the galaxy had been defied. Humanity had proven again that its greatest weapon was not in dominance or destruction, but in trust, in tenderness, and in the courage to love across impossible divides. The alien girl lay on his chest as stars swirled around them, and he knew, with certainty, that nothing in the universe could replicate this power. Days stretched into weeks aboard the orbital station, but within the quiet of their shared space, time became fluid, irrelevant, almost a trivial measure against the vastness of the galaxy. Outside, stars pulsed, nebulas shifted in slow, cosmic dances, and planets rotated in distant silence, indifferent to the small, extraordinary moments unfolding within this isolated station. Yet for him and the alien girl, the universe had narrowed to the span of a single embrace, a heartbeat, a shared warmth that defied the laws of logic and reason. Here, in this fragile cocoon, humanity revealed its true power, the ability to forge connection across the impossible, to nurture intimacy where none should exist, to bend the indifferent cosmos with trust and care. She lay curled against him as she had done countless times before, the soft bioluminescent patterns across her skin painting trails of light that glimmered and faded against the dim glow of the observation deck. Her breathing was steady, rhythmic, as though she had synchronized her very being with his own pulse. Each subtle movement she made, the tilt of her head, the shift of a shoulder, the quiet flexing of her fingers, spoke volumes he had learned to interpret instinctively. This intimacy was a language all its own, one that no translation could capture, no alien intelligence could predict. The galaxy had calculated everything about humans except this, the extraordinary force of care, trust, and affection wielded quietly, invisibly, and irresistibly. He allowed her to settle fully against him, wrapping an arm around her to offer both security and warmth. Humanity had endured countless threats, cosmic anomalies, alien fleets, political manipulations, but none of these challenges compared to the delicate artistry of connection. In holding her, he realized humans had found a strength no empire could anticipate, the ability to inspire absolute trust, to create a sanctuary of intimacy even amid the void of space. Every heartbeat she pressed into his chest was a declaration that life could be gentle, that love could exist where the universe intended none, and that humans had mastered the impossible art of forging bonds that transcended biology, species, and expectation. She stirred slightly, murmuring words in her native tongue, and though he could not understand the literal meaning, he felt the emotion radiating from her every syllable: acceptance, safety, devotion, love. He responded not with words but with action, adjusting his hold to comfort her further, letting his fingers trace the faint constellations glowing across her shoulders. Each touch became a conversation, a negotiation of trust, a testament to the courage both of them had taken to allow this closeness. In a galaxy dominated by calculation, humanity's genius lay in the unquantifiable, the instinct to nurture, to protect, to love fully, without hesitation or expectation. Outside, the stars continued their silent ballet. Meteors arced through the void, some burning in brief brilliance, others vanishing entirely. Black holes whispered their dominion over space-time. Distant supernova flared and faded. And yet, in that cosmic theater of power and inevitability, the most extraordinary force was here. A human holding an alien girl in tender embrace, her trust anchoring him as much as he anchored her. He reflected on the countless times humanity had been underestimated, fragile, emotional, unpredictable. Yet it was precisely these qualities, empathy, courage, adaptability, that allowed them to endure, survive, and shape reality in ways no other species could. She shifted again, curling slightly more tightly against him, and he felt her warmth radiate into his own body. Humanity had always excelled where logic and brute strength failed. They could endure, adapt, and thrive not by controlling the universe, but by connecting within it. Her fingers brushed across his chest, glowing faintly, tracing patterns of her own design. He followed her movements instinctively, memorizing the feel of her skin, the subtle rise and fall of her breathing, the gentle tremors that betrayed the depth of her relaxation. Across light years of distance, across species divides, they had found something stronger than any fleet or weapon, a sanctuary of trust, a proof that connection could bend even the indifferent void of space. Sometimes he closed his eyes and simply let the moment exist, letting the rhythm of her heartbeat guide his own. Humanity's triumphs had often been measured in conquest, strategy, and endurance. But here, in a quiet corner of the cosmos, he understood the truest measure: the ability to love and be loved without conditions, to forge intimacy where none was expected, to survive by trusting another being completely. The alien girl's presence was proof that humans had mastered what no other species could: the unassailable power of empathy, tenderness, and intimacy. Hours, or perhaps an entire cycle of the station's orbit, passed in this timeless intimacy. Stars swirled outside, painting the observation deck with moving patterns of light. Meteors streaked past, silent witnesses to the quiet defiance unfolding within. Alien fleets, distant empires, cosmic phenomena. None of it mattered here. Humanity's real victory lay not in their fleets, technology, or intellect, but in this: the courage to cradle life, to nurture trust, and to allow love to flourish even in the coldest reaches of the galaxy. She nestled further against him, her head tucked under his chin, eyes half-lidded in quiet surrender. He pressed a gentle kiss to the crown of her head, feeling the delicate warmth of her skin and the soft hum of her bioluminescence. In that act, he knew that the universe had underestimated humanity's greatest strength. Across civilizations and cosmic expanses, humans had survived through connection, through compassion, through the bravery to love even when all logic suggested it was impossible. And in this small, perfect intimacy, he understood why humans endured. Love, trust, and tenderness were more powerful than any fleet, weapon, or supernova. The alien girl lay on his chest as stars swirled outside, and he understood that nothing the galaxy could do, no calculation, no conquest, no empire, could replicate what they had here. Humanity had demonstrated again that its greatest weapon was not force, but connection. And in the quiet of the observation deck, with distant suns burning and the galaxy moving in endless, indifferent rhythms, the small, fragile intimacy between two beings became a defiance of the cosmos itself, a proof that humans had mastered something far beyond survival. They had mastered love. The orbital station rotated slowly above its sun, casting shifting patterns of light across the observation deck. Outside, the galaxy was alive with the subtle dance of stellar phenomena. Nebula glowed in ghostly blues and reds. Distant planets reflected starlight in cold metallic glimmers, and comets streaked silently across the void. Yet inside, a human and an alien girl existed in a universe entirely their own, a world defined not by politics, empires, or war, but by touch, trust, and the quiet assertion of intimacy. Every heartbeat, every subtle movement, every sigh became a declaration of human resilience, a proof that the galaxy had misjudged them all along. She lay pressed against him, small and fragile in appearance, but imbued with a luminescence that defied the darkness around them. Her skin shifted with faint patterns of color, each subtle glow an echo of emotion, curiosity, serenity, trust, and, most profoundly, love. He traced the contours of her shoulder with his fingers, memorizing the warmth, the texture, the living map of trust she offered him. Across the galaxy, civilizations wielded armies, weapons, and fleets with precision, but humans had something far subtler and more unyielding: the courage to allow another life complete access to their own, the willingness to nurture, to comfort, and to inspire connection where none was expected. She murmured softly in her native tongue, the sound melodic, almost musical, reverberating against his chest in gentle waves. He could not translate the words, but the meaning was unmistakable. Safety, surrender, affection, and the profound acknowledgement of being seen and held without condition. He responded instinctively, letting his fingers drift along her spine, letting the warmth of his body anchor hers. In a universe defined by cold calculation and predicted outcomes, this intimacy was rebellion. Humanity had always thrived in the unpredictable, and here, in this quiet corner of the cosmos, they demonstrated a power that no algorithm, no diplomat, no fleet could ever anticipate. Time became irrelevant. Stars moved through the void, galaxies rotated silently, and the distant hum of the station's machinery became a lullaby, harmonizing with the rhythm of her breathing and the cadence of his own heartbeat. He marveled at the trust she placed in him, at the vulnerability and courage required for her to lay her entire being across a human chest. He understood fully that humans had survived and flourished not because they were strongest or fastest, but because they could connect, could hold, could inspire trust across species, civilizations, and the void itself. Each touch, each sigh, each shared heartbeat became a proof that humanity's power was immeasurable, transcending conventional measures of strength. The alien girl shifted again, her small hand tracing constellations across his chest. Her fingers left faint trails of bioluminescence, fading slowly, as if the light itself hesitated to leave her touch. He followed her movements with reverence, memorizing every detail, committing to memory the map of warmth and trust she had created. Across light years and alien cultures, humans were underestimated for their emotions, their unpredictability, and their capacity for attachment. Yet it was precisely these qualities that had allowed them to endure supernovae, cosmic catastrophes, and hostile civilizations. The galaxy could predict physics, fleets, and outcomes, but it could not predict the subtle, indestructible force of human empathy and love. She pressed closer, resting her head beneath his chin, and he bent slightly to brush his lips against the top of her head. Her body radiated warmth, and he felt the faint vibration of her pulse against his chest, syncing with his own rhythm. In that moment, he realized that humanity's most powerful weapon was not fleets, technology, or intelligence. It was this: the courage to nurture life, to create intimacy, to trust another being completely, and to allow love to flourish in a universe that had no obligation to respond in kind. The galaxy had miscalculated humans again, as it always did. Empires, alien scholars, and interstellar strategists could never quantify the power of tenderness, the force of trust, the strength found in vulnerability. Outside, stars continued their indifferent ballet. Black holes whispered secrets of space-time. Quasars sent jets of energy across unimaginable distances, and meteors drifted silently, oblivious to the small sanctuary within the observation deck. And yet, within this fragile, glowing cocoon of presence, humans demonstrated something indomitable. Her small body against his chest was a rebellion against the cold, impersonal universe, a proof that life could flourish even where calculation and probability demanded nothing but survival. He held her, steady and present, offering warmth, safety, and the quiet assurance that they were, for now, beyond the reach of danger or indifference. Hours or perhaps days passed, but the concept of time became irrelevant. He memorized the rise and fall of her chest, the soft murmurings of her voice, the glowing patterns across her skin. Each detail was a testament to the unquantifiable resilience of humanity, the ability to connect, to nurture, and to inspire trust across impossible divides. The universe might continue to spin in silence and indifference, but here, a human and an alien girl had created a sanctuary more enduring than any fleet, any empire, any calculation. Finally, he pressed a gentle kiss to her temple, feeling the warmth radiate from her body and pulse through him in quiet affirmation. In that embrace, he understood the truth the galaxy had always failed to recognize. Humans were extraordinary not because they conquered, but because they loved, completely and courageously, even in the coldest reaches of space. The alien girl lay on his chest as stars swirled around them, and in that swirl of light, warmth, and trust, humanity's power shone brighter than any star. It was quiet, unassuming, and unstoppable, a force no civilization could ever predict. The station drifted silently through the endless night of space, a small speck of human ingenuity adrift among stars older than memory. Outside, the galaxy moved in its indifferent rhythms. Planets orbited in precise arcs. Nebulas glowed in iridescent swirls, and distant quasars pulsed with energy that had traveled for eons. Yet inside the observation deck, time had surrendered its dominion, and the universe itself seemed to pause in reverence to the fragile intimacy unfolding. The alien girl lay atop his chest, her luminous skin reflecting faint ribbons of starlight, her trust absolute. And he understood in a clarity few humans ever achieved that this was humanity's truest power, the courage to love fully, without calculation, without expectation, and without the need for reciprocation beyond mutual presence. He adjusted slightly, wrapping an arm around her slender form, ensuring her comfort while allowing her the freedom to shift and breathe naturally. Every heartbeat, every subtle motion, every exhalation from her lips became a rhythm to which he synchronized. Across the galaxy, species measured life in fleets, resources, and calculated advantage, but humans measured it differently. They measured by connection, by the capacity to inspire trust, to nurture, and to offer presence in moments where no observer could claim consequence. Here, in the quiet intimacy of an alien being resting against him, He realized that humans wielded a force no empire, no scholar, no machine could ever comprehend. Vulnerability made indestructible by love. She stirred, murmuring softly in her native tongue, the words melodious, wrapped in tones of serenity, trust, and affection. Though he did not comprehend the literal meaning, every syllable resonated in his chest, in his bones, and in the small, quiet chambers of human instinct that had guided him through centuries of survival and cosmic exploration. He responded not with speech, but with touch, a gentle stroke along her back, a finger tracing faint constellations of bioluminescence across her shoulders, a pressure of warmth that said simply, "You are safe, you are seen, you are valued." In these moments, the galaxy's indifferent calculus faltered. Fleets could not calculate affection, civilizations could not predict trust, and the void itself could not diminish the extraordinary power of two beings choosing to exist in absolute intimacy. Hours stretched and blurred into one another. The observation deck was bathed in shifting patterns of starlight, the hum of machinery blending seamlessly with the soft cadence of breathing and heartbeats. He closed his eyes briefly, committing the entirety of her presence to memory. The faint glow of her skin, the subtle rise and fall of her chest, the small sighs that punctuated the silent conversation of trust. Humanity had survived countless threats, from cosmic catastrophes to alien dominions, and he now understood why. Survival was not rooted merely in technology, in fleets, or in strategy. It was rooted in connection, in the bravery to hold and be held, in the willingness to allow another life complete access to one's own. The alien girl lying on his chest was proof that humans had perfected this art, a force invisible yet unyielding, quiet yet unstoppable. She shifted slightly, nuzzling against him, and he felt a warmth radiate through his chest that no star could match. Outside, the universe remained indifferent. Indifferent to billions of lives, to civilizations risen and fallen, to empires claimed and abandoned. Yet within this small cocoon of presence, humans displayed a defiance the galaxy could not anticipate. Love, trust, empathy. These were more powerful than weapons, more enduring than fleets, and more enduring than time itself. The alien girl's bioluminescent patterns flickered faintly, as if in response to his pulse, echoing a silent affirmation that the connection between them was mutual, profound, and extraordinary. He bent forward, pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead, savoring the warmth, the glow, the living proof of trust she had given him. The galaxy, in all its grandeur, had failed to predict humans again. Scholars, strategists, and alien empires had calculated probabilities, assessed survival odds, and underestimated every flaw they perceived in humanity. But here, in the intimate warmth of an alien girl resting fully against him, they had misjudged the core truth. Humanity's greatest strength lay not in dominance, in conquest, or in logic, but in the courage to love, to nurture, and to connect with another being fully, recklessly, and unreservedly. Time passed without measure. Meteors drifted lazily outside, stars ignited and faded, and distant planets rotated silently. Yet inside, every subtle sigh, every twitch of a finger, every pulse of bioluminescence became a declaration of humanity's legacy. The alien girl lay on his chest as stars swirled around them, and he felt, with an aching clarity, that this was what humans had been meant to accomplish in the vastness of space, not to conquer, not to dominate, but to endure through the power of connection, through the quiet, unassailable force of love. Finally, the station's systems shifted in a slow cycle, casting a soft, golden light across the deck. He pressed another kiss to the crown of her head, feeling the warmth radiate, feeling the heartbeat beneath his hand echoing his own. In that instant, the galaxy, with all its incomprehensible forces and indifferent scales, was irrelevant. What mattered was the human capacity to nurture, to trust, and to love across impossible boundaries. Humanity had endured, as always, not through weapons or strategy, but through the courage to hold, to protect, and to cherish another life fully. The stars swirled outside, silent witnesses to their intimacy, distant yet present in the light that brushed across their forms. The alien girl lay on his chest, her trust absolute, her warmth a beacon against the void. And in that quiet, perfect moment, he understood that humanity had already won. Not through conquest, not through fleets or technology, but through something far subtler, far more enduring, the power to connect, to inspire trust, and to love fully, across galaxies, species, and the indifferent expanse of space. The universe could watch, predict, calculate, and conquer, yet it could never replicate this. Humanity's legacy was alive, beating gently, radiating warmth, and glowing brighter than any star. And in that truth, he held her closer, knowing that together they had created something the cosmos could never touch, a sanctuary of love, trust, and humanity's quiet, indomitable power.